So anyway, let me get into this next story. Thank you all so much for being here. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, Burn It Down with Kim Brown. You can support us in all the ways on our Cash App platforms. $ BIDWKB, Venmo at BIDWKB, PayPal.me/BIDWKB, or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/BIDWKB. So kids, we've been following the many, although it's been two, but when it comes to federal court cases, I think two is definitely too many. When it comes to federal court trials, I would definitely say two is too many. So we have been following the saga of former Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who was charged with a number of federal counts. She had two separate federal trials. One in 2023, where Marilyn Mosby was convicted in a federal court of perjury, and she has been in court in recent weeks facing additional charges of mortgage fraud. This stems from Ms. Mosby, while she was Baltimore State's attorney, allegedly filling out mortgage forms where she did not indicate that she owed a $45,000 tax lien. She indicated that she intended to live in these two Florida vacation properties that she was taking out a mortgage on. She was not going to live there because at the time that she had taken out these mortgages and purchased these vacation homes in Florida, she had recently been reelected to state's attorney. So how in the fuck was you going to live in Florida full time when you just got reelected as a public servant in where? Baltimore, Maryland, not in commuting distance to Florida. I do not think so. So in typical fashion, the feds caught up with a black woman elected official from Baltimore, even though she wasn't born and raised in Baltimore, but representing Baltimore. There's a history of that, and Marilyn Mosby is the latest one of those. So I want us to go to Greenbelt, Maryland, where the federal courthouse is, or one of the federal courthouses in the state of Maryland, because there was a verdict. There was a verdict, and it was a bit of a surprise. It didn't come straight down the way that some expected. So I believe who was this? Well, I think it's WJZ, which is the CBS affiliate in Baltimore, was there when the verdict was announced pertaining to this latest federal trial for former Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. Let's take a look.
Ms. Mosby, can you say anything?
No comment.
Ms. Mosby, how do you feel about this split
Well,
verdict?
that's not it. Play the joint I just put up there. Niggas don't be listening, though. That's not. We're gonna play that. That's the after. Will see you giving it away. Let me know when you're ready to run the joint. Remember, we just talked. I'll put it on the top of it. Okay. He don't be listening. I know. When women talk, what does it sound like? Wah, wah, wah. It sound like
that some period of executed incarceration will certainly be sought by the government.
Adam Ruther is a white-collar criminal defense attorney in Baltimore who says Marilyn Mosby is likely to spend time behind bars for perjury and mortgage fraud.
It wouldn't be surprising to see a sentence, probably anywhere from the range of 6 months to 18 months. A sentence that communicates seriousness for the offense.
This is Ms. Mosby's second federal criminal conviction in less than 4 months. The jury at her first trial found her guilty on 2 counts of perjury. That was in early November. On Tuesday night, the second jury announced its decision, finding Mosby guilty of 1 count of mortgage fraud for lying about the source of closing funds so she could get a loan at a lower interest rate to buy a condo on the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Ms. Mosby, what's your reaction to the verdict?
Though she sobbed in the courtroom as the verdict was announced, there was no comment from Ms. Mosby as she exited the courthouse last night. Her legal team also had no comment on the verdict or what happens next.
Mr. Wida, can you give us any reaction to the verdict?
We're not going to talk about it. Thank you.
It'll take several months before any sentencing hearing, Mr. Ruther says. He also believes the judge will consolidate the 3 counts into a single hearing, adding the sentence will be calculated based on the mortgage amount that Ms. Mosby's fraudulent gift letter helped secure.
That's the amount of money she borrowed, not the amount of money she lied about. So it'll be triggered based on the $428,000, not the $5,000.
Late today, the court docket was updated with a sentencing date on the calendar. That hearing currently set for May 23rd at 10:30 a.m. But there's also the question of will she be sentenced on 3 counts or 2, because the judge also set a date for next Friday to take up the defense motion for judgment of acquittal, which was first submitted way back on day 3 of this trial on January 24th. Reporting live tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.
Kate, still a lot of steps to take. Thank you very much. As you know, Kate, today Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott was asked if he could still trust the city council president. Nick Mosby is not facing charges, but during the trial that led to his ex-wife's conviction, he was compromised by his own testimony. Here's what the mayor had to say.
I'm also thinking about their family, most notably those 2 beautiful little girls. But as long as he is serving in that role as council president, he has a duty to do that role. And the voters in Baltimore will determine whether he should have that or not. For me, I just have to do my job and work with whoever's in the role.
Now, the mayor was also asked if he thinks members of city council will call for Mosby's resignation as city council president. He responded by saying that's for them to consider, and his focus will remain on improving Baltimore City. And 11 News coverage continues in the WBAL TV app.
That's good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that package had a little bit more to offer than I remembered, but yeah, they even offered some sentencing speculation. It's interesting that that particular legal expert at least thinks that there's a good chance Marilyn Mosby is going to jail. I don't think that she should go to jail. I don't think that jail is a place for people generally, least alone for paperwork shit. But again, sort of like the way that my empathy was sort of compromised for Killer Mike. But it's compromised in the exact same way for Marilyn Mosby. No, I don't think that Black people should go to jail. But she used to put Black people in jail. That was her job. So I think it is befitting. It is poetic, right? That Marilyn Mosby, maybe go sit in jail for a little bit. And Brandon Scott there, you see the mayor of Baltimore. Yes, he is 12 years old. You were, if you if that's what you were thinking, you're like, damn, he looked like he about in 10th grade. Yep, he is. He's about in 10th grade. Yeah. So that's Brandon Scott. Interesting that Brandon Scott took such a very neutral position there on Nick Mosby. Brandon Scott used to be a member of the city council. Like I can't. And again, this is how these Black politicians always take up for each other. Like they always run cover for one another. Well, I mean, Brandon Scott, I can't say with any certainty or any definity that Nick Mosby personally is compromised. But again, like I've brought up before, I find it interesting that the Mosbys as a couple seemingly had all this financial trouble when, if your household income is about $300,000 or more, the ends are meeting like a motherfucker. Like, I don't see how the fuck are y'all fucking up the money. You understand? Like, I never will understand these earn your leisure ass niggas. Like, how the fuck can't y'all make it work with 300K? Like, how are you fucking up the money? Like, that shit doesn't make any sense to me. It makes sense when you figure that the fact that these motherfuckers feel like they are the poors when it comes to the Black elite. We're barely scraping by with $300,000 in Baltimore. It's hard. Well, that's why y'all dumbasses need to stop hanging out with Oprah and the Obamas, because they out here making y'all feel bad. They're making y'all feel poor as a 6-figure couple and household. Y'all out here feeling poor, and then y'all out here taking out, misfilling out forms and doing goofy shit that white folks, by the way, get away with all the time. But visible Black people, I suppose, with a modicum of power, you can't do that. It's not because you shouldn't. It's not because you shouldn't try to game the system. It's that because the powers that be are looking for you in particular to fuck it up, so they can make an example out of you, so they can take whatever little shit that you may have, right? That's why you shouldn't do it, not because gaming the system is wrong. Gaming the system is fine if you don't get caught, right? But these motherfuckers be getting caught, and Marilyn Mosby has been caught. All right, well, run that video. So this is the video shot by Fox Baltimore of Marilyn Mosby exiting the Greenbelt, Maryland federal courthouse, as you heard reported there in the package by WBAL. When the verdict was read, and by the way, it was a split verdict. She was found guilty on one count, acquitted on another count. And this was the first time, you guys, I've been showing y'all clips from this trial and the previous trials all along. But this was the first time that I've seen a collection of Mosby supporters actually outside of the courthouse. Now, very infamously, at least on this platform, we showed you when Baltimore activist Shortman, greeted Marilyn Mosby at the Greenbelt courtroom, reminding her that she and Keith Davis Jr. was going to soon trade places. And he mic checked, right? Like as Shorty has a tendency to do. But we have not seen people show up at the courthouse rooting for Marilyn Mosby. But that happened. And I was surprised to see it. So anyway, this is going to be Mosby and her legal team. By the way, Marilyn Mosby was represented by a public defender in federal courts, which, by the way, some legal people whose opinions that I trust out of Baltimore say that the public defenders in the federal system are pretty good. So it's not like that she was out here, as I suppose, with bad representation. She was just out here with free representation, which should tell you another indication about how the Mosbys fuck the money up. How the fuck y'all fuck up $300K a year for how many years? Several years. Y'all should have. You know what? I'm a mind my business. Psych. Let's take a look at this video. This was courtesy of Fox Baltimore, showing Marilyn Mosby, as you said, as we heard in the previous package. She was upset when the verdict came down. In fact, reported to have hung her head in her hands and sobbed. But she pulled her shit together to come outside and meet the press, and I suppose, and her supporters, though she did not offer any comment. Let's take a look.
Ms. Mosby, can you say anything?
No comment.
Ms. Mosby, how do you feel about this split verdict?
Leave alone.
Ms. Mosby, are you happy with the decision to take the stand?
No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment. You done enough, thank you. Go.
Ms. Mosby, what's your comment to the people of
No
Baltimore?
comment. No comment.
She has not made any public comments throughout this trial. Marilyn Mosby into her Chevy Suburban.
Marion Kai, if you can hear me, that was Marilyn Mosby obviously not making any comments there to the supporters or the media. You can hear some of the supporters now chanting, "We love her, we love her, love." Ms. Mosby did not say anything as she was surrounded by a sea of supporters on her way out of the courthouse.
You guys, if you go to Twitter and put in Marilyn Mosby and search the videos, you're going to find several videos of the scenes outside of the courthouse on Tuesday, the day that the verdict came down. And these Mosby supporters, they were out there like praying, like, Father God, protect this woman. Shit. Y'all was supposed to have been out there praying. This lady's already been on one federal trial in which she was convicted on both counts. Y'all wasn't out there for that. But then here y'all come on the last day just to get that guilty verdict on one of the charges. It was kind of strange. And I wonder, I don't know. Let me not take credit for shit because, you know, I'm a Leo. I will find a way to give myself credit in the shit, right? But I mean, haven't we been observing, not even so much the absence of supporters down there, but I guess in noting, you know, Marilyn Mosby walking into that courtroom often, and again, us bigging up Shorty and the way he greeted her at the courthouse, I was like, isn't that interesting? They showed up. This is the first time that we've seen the Mosby supporters show up, and I don't even know who these people could be. Like, who are y'all? Did y'all work for the campaign? Did y'all used to work in the state's attorney's office? Are y'all the NAACP? Like, who is this out here for Marilyn Mosby like that? Like, we love Marilyn. Like, do you? And if you do, why? Why? So, as you heard in the previous report, Marilyn Mosby has not yet been sentenced. Interesting point of notation in what Mackenzie Frost from Fox 45 there mentioned, whether or not Mosby regretted taking the stand, because in her first federal trial, she did not take the stand, right? And she was convicted on both counts. In this federal trial, she did decide to take the stand in her own defense. And she was found guilty on one count. So I'm not sure strategically whether or not that was a good move, because there were reports that things had gotten, quote, testy on the stand. And of course, because these are federal proceedings, we don't get any courtroom video at all. So damn. I would have loved to have seen that. Would have loved to have seen and heard Nick Mosby up there sounding trifling. Oh, I would have loved to have heard and seen a lot of that. So again, 2024 continues to be a year that I think is going to deliver a lot of karmic justice, right? Shit that has been fucked up, people that have either been allowed to harm without consequence. I think there's going to be a reckoning for those folks. And we're seeing it starting to unfold. I think this is just one example of it. You know, I think the election is going to be a shit show of something. But I think 2024 bodes an embracing of things being set right. Right? We know what's right and what's wrong. It was wrong the way Marilyn Mosby wielded the power of her office. It was wrong the way that she let Freddie Gray's killers skate with no consequence. It was wrong the way she kept Keith Davis Jr. in jail for 7 years. It was wrong the way that she tormented his family. It was wrong in the way that she did not find justice for Kevin Jones' family, the person that she accused Keith Davis Jr. of murdering. Kevin Jones' killer remains free for all we know, right? Like, she did not wield the duty of justice, right? She did the work of a prosecutor. And to try to obtain justice is different work from that of a prosecutor. And she decided to be a prosecutor. And that's why she's getting the shit that she's getting now.